Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Successful, Wealthy, and Confident. I am joined by Holistic Coach Shanna Stevens. Um, Shanna, so the last time we spoke about the child phase. We spoke about kind of how the environment that we have around us, right, impacts us as we get older. So we're going to deep dive into the next phase, which is the adolescent phase. So I'd love to get your take on what is the adolescent, who is the adolescent within us, and how does that impact us?
Yes, great questions. If you don't mind, I'm going to back up just a little bit with
Yeah,
child. As we're in mom's womb, there are events happening outside in the environment, and so those frequencies and the vibrations are being picked up by our little bodies inside the womb. So we're learning patterns and belief systems before we're ever born, just through vibration alone. So then
right,
once we're born, then there's the environment, whether it's contentious or whether it's happy in a peaceful state. We're picking up those vibrations and we're learning things in the environment that we're in, right? And
right,
so this is such an important segue into that second phase of life, which is the adolescent. Because the wounding happens in childhood from ages 0 to 6, those wounds go with us, right? They go with us into the adolescent phase. So the whole model that we're talking about here is we're talking about the healthy adult in three different phases: the child, the adolescent, and then the adult. Child phase is ages 0 to 6. The adolescent phase is ages 7 to 24. Now, again, depending on who you are, it's around those ages. Okay, around 7, around 24. And then the adult starts age 25 and older, because that's when science says the brain's developed, fully developed.
I was about to say, I always thought adolescence ended around 18, 17, because that's kind of when we're supposed to be all grown up and thrown into society. So I think it's really interesting that it actually goes all the way until we're 24.
Absolutely. So, from a holistic standpoint, with mind, body, spirit, and emotions, right? That's holistic, bringing everything together. With the body, the brain is completely developed around age 25.
Right.
So that's when our physical form, our minds, our adult age starts to, well, we're going to get into that. So I'm going to back up
Mm-hmm.
just a little bit
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
we can look at the adolescent phase, because this is really important of where most of us are living from today.
Mm-hmm.
Until we become awakened or aware, I don't like my patterns anymore. I'm stuck in life. I'm frustrated. I can't grow my business like I want to, and there's reasons why. So let's touch on the wounds that happened, the abandonment, the neglect, and the abuse that happened in childhood. Those wounds go with us
Mm-hmm.
in our programming into our adolescent phase, right? Now, in adolescent, around the age 7, that's when the ego begins to develop. Okay, so
Okay.
that's why this is where the adolescent uh, form phase forms, is around age 7. So ego forms, and so does the desire to protect ourselves begins to
Right.
come online, whether it's imaginary or whether it's real.
Hmm. Okay.
So around, let's say, first grade, second grade, around those timelines, we're starting to understand that we're separate from our family. We're separate from mom. We're separate from dad. Right? We're our own person. We're not like our siblings. We're different, and this is the ego.
Right. Right.
Very necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, the ego is separate, and I hear a lot within the spiritual and self-development community that the ego can also be characterized as very fear-based, right? And something to kind of overcome. So in as when it comes to the adolescent, Is that the same definition?
Absolutely, it is.
Mm,
So, fear based. So, what's the purpose of fear? So, our ego, so that in this adolescent phase, we can think about it like this: the ego or the adolescent phase has three responsibilities, and that's it. And it is to keep us safe, it's to keep us alive, and it's to keep us accepted.
yeah.
Because if we get kicked out, our brain thinks that we're going to die. Around the age 7, 8, 9, we have to keep ourselves accepted, or else we're not going to exist. So
Right.
this is where the fear starts to come in, right? This is fear based right here. Fear is the ego, absolutely. But it has a purpose. There's purpose with fear to keep us safe, alive, and accepted. Okay?
Yeah.
So this wounding that's passed on from childhood into our adolescent phase, we start creating we may become like perfectionists. We may become judgmental again in the mindset of these three reasons why the fear is here in our adolescent. This is where the codependent comes in. This is where people pleasing comes in. So these are
Oh,
masks that we have developed to keep ourselves from feeling the wounds from childhood so that we can stay accepted, so that we can stay safe. We can't take risks out there or else we'll be unsafe. We might feel the pain.
yeah.
So this is a big deal. These are big wounds from childhood.
Yeah.
So this is
Yes.
where the masks are created in adolescence.
The mass as far as the identities that aren't necessarily for our highest good, aren't necessarily safe, or not safe, but healthy for us.
Correct. Not
Yeah.
healthy, but they are keeping us safe. They're keeping us from trying risks and
Hmm.
trying to do new things and expand ourselves because our mind doesn't know that it's not safe to do that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So when I first heard of the adolescent phase, in my experience, when especially as a teenager, in my personal experience, I experienced a lot of bullying because I didn't fit in. I didn't have, I had kind of a quirky personality growing up, so I just didn't fit in with the crowd. And that's where a lot of the bullying came in. So when you told me that the one of the phases for the healthy adult was the adolescent, that's where my mind immediately went. So I would love to just dive into, how that correlates with the adolescent as far as, you know, really like what is the idea behind like bullying and kind of trying to stick with the crowd and fit in that way and
Yeah.
I'm just curious on your take on that because that was where my mind went immediately.
I love that we're going here with this. So, at a very young age, our parents doing the best that they can, right? There's
Mhm.
love the parents. They literally, because they love us so much, they do the best that they can. They go and make decisions for us, thinking that that's what's best for us in that moment, rather than helping us create a choice or a decision to discover who we are. And when it comes to things like bullying, we don't have a voice. We might not have a voice of, hey, that doesn't make me feel good, stop. Or
Mhm.
we haven't learned to draw that boundary. My brother, I have a 2 year old niece who just has been sharing on Snapchat with me. She's in preschool and she's only 2. And in this school, they're teaching hand up, stop. That doesn't make me feel good
Mhm.
at 2 years old. Now, growing up a few years ago for me, if when I was 2, we didn't have those tools. It wasn't around, so it was foreign. So here at the age of 2, she's learning her voice of that and the way she feels. I don't like the way that feels. Stop. So
Mhm.
there's the boundary. Now, as we get older, we get into society and we start covering up or we start losing our sense of self and who we really are to fit in.
Oh yes.
Because if we don't fit in, we're going to die. At least that's what the mind thinks or the brain thinks. So we come up with stories or assumptions also called lies, that are not true, to help us stay accepted or even meet a need.
Hmm.
Unhealthy, yes, but that's how we learn to stay accepted, to survive in the society that we grew up in. Does that make sense around, does that resonate with bullying?
It does. It does resonate with bullying. I think that another way to see it is that it's a way of kind of having sort of a kinship with other people, fitting in with the popular crowd, right? By bullying, the
Mm,
people they look at as less than. Um, I take it as a way of empowerment because I try to look at the positives and how that bullying experience made me a better person.
mm,
And so it's just interesting to me how the adolescent phase can kind of bring those things up to the surface because especially when you say it's up till 24, right? We only really, especially for me, I only really experienced that up until high school, right? And then it's like college in your early 20s, it got a little bit better. So I guess maybe it's to say the more developed we are, the more we can kind of differentiate who
correct.
we want to be and who we actually are versus the crowd and what we're,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
You're out from underneath mom and dad's umbrella or your caretaker's
Hmm.
umbrellas, and you're out in the world now, and you're getting reflected back the positive things about yourself. Like, people are, they want to get to know you because of who you are, rather than under the umbrella of having to do what mom and dad say, or staying within the lines and the boundaries of, it's mom and dad's home, so we have to do what they say in the home, right?
Hmm.
So going outside, and once you're graduated from high school, we can go explore and expand ourselves, and find out who we
Hmm.
really are as we continue to develop.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very different energy once you kind of leave that umbrella. You're able to um, figure out who you really are way more than when you're in that umbrella. Perfect. I was just really curious about that, but I would love to reel it back in and kind of focus on, the definition of an adolescent. So it is the fear within us. So why is it important to even pay attention to the adolescent? Like, how does that impact us as
Yes.
adults, older than 24 even?
Yes. So these patterns that we learned from a very young age, if we don't update them, they
Hmm.
go on with us to 25 and older. So our brain's fully developed. We have our emotional patterns and our belief systems that we learned in childhood, and we take those into adulthood, right? So now we
Hmm.
have adolescent people living in adult bodies,
Right.
running countries, raising families, running businesses, making emotional decisions from not a necessarily healthy place.
Yeah,
That makes sense?
that makes sense.
Yeah. So to be aware of, I don't like the way that makes me feel. It doesn't feel good when, let's take bullying for example. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel good when I'm being talked to or a comment is made to me. Something does rise up in me because it's in me.
Hmm.
It's in me from childhood. So when a bully, and I relate to the bullying, I was very picked on and bullied all the way up through high school.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel good because it was a pattern that was brought up from our childhood. Maybe an abandonment or a neglect, or I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, whatever the reason might be. As that comes up, someone once called it a lie. You know it doesn't feel good in your body because it's called a lie.
Yeah.
So, um, Teal Swan, I'm not sure if you know who Teal Swan is. She calls
Yeah,
it
yeah. I
an
love Teal Swan.
emotional flashback. Love that.
Hmm.
An emotional flashback. So it really came from childhood, and now it's in us, in adolescent all the way up to 24, and then into adulthood. So being aware how it makes us feel is such a gift. Michelle Chalfant calls triggers, so it triggered something in us. She calls it a gift.
Hmm.
And as I went down my own journey of being triggered here, so much emotional pain, I understand now it is such a gift to be triggered.
I love that. I love that it's looked at as a gift because being triggered is a very uncomfortable experience. It's not a comfortable experience. It's just not because we're facing unpleasant experiences
Yes. Yep.
that still live in our body because
That's,
it's being
yeah.
triggered.
That still live with us. I love that. They are still
Yeah.
within us. They still live with us. So this is why the adolescent phase is so impactful, to be aware of what the feelings are that's coming up for us. Okay, so I have a list of triggers. Trigger fact statements. Triggers are reactions to our own childhood wounding.
Hmm.
Michelle Chalfant. These thoughts that we have become beliefs about who we are. Whatever is going on in me is showing up in my reality.
Mm.
This trigger is inside of me, and this person is showing me. So when someone triggers, right, somebody rubs you wrong or doesn't resonate with you and just doesn't feel good, they're showing something that's inside of you. There's the blessing. There's the gift.
Yes.
The key is to stay present, and this is where we get into our healthy adult. Stay present and remember the gift. Okay? And she goes on to say, this is about making the unknown known.
Mm. I think that when you're grateful for your triggers, it's also a lesson of empowerment, right? Because if we get triggered, if somebody says or does something that makes us feel like we're not good enough, like it triggers all of these negative responses within us. With this way of looking at it as a blessing, what we can do is, instead of being like, you made me feel like that and that's why you're a bad person, instead of doing that, we can look inward and say, hey, what is unhealed within me
Mm,
that is that is so upset about what just happened?
mm.
And then that way, when the healing starts and when the healing is finished, you could walk up to the same situation and not be phased by it because it's healed. It's not a trigger anymore.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Dr. Joan Rosenberg with the neurosciences, I touched on the first episode on this. She's been working, and they've done studies on this. They have found that the body will metabolize that emotion in 90 seconds or less.
Yeah.
So once you sit in it, and when I say sit in it, you're literally, you've secluded yourself from your surroundings. You're in the bathroom, the locker room, the break room, your office. You're sitting in it. Start the timer for 90 seconds or less, and you're feeling it. And as you breathe, it processes. And then you notice the chemicals in your body. She talks about the chemicals that are changing, that come up for you. Once the
Mm-hmm.
body metabolizes those chemicals, it's gone. And it doesn't
Yeah.
come back. It doesn't impact us the way that it used to. And you will
Right.
begin to notice that.
Right.
Feel it to heal it.
And the thing is that if you don't feel it and you don't heal it, you're going to run into situations that will trigger you in order to try to get you to feel it so that you can heal it. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about triggers and about this life that we have as humans, where we're going to repeat the same lesson over and over again until we get it, until it's integrated, until we can look at that trigger and say, you don't bother me anymore, I'm completely healed.
That's so great. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. The triggers are going to stay consistent
Mm-hmm.
until the pattern is broken, until there's an interruption in the pattern. And what Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks, he's one of the energy gurus out there. He's a brain scientist, but he does it scientifically. They have found that the chemicals will change the neural pathways once you sit in it metabolize it, and then state what is true today. What is true today? Through some of the sessions, my clients that I've worked with, they get so triggered about some of the things that their family members are saying that they've borrowed. They've borrowed these beliefs since they were in childhood. And now sister says something and she's so triggered, and we'll slow it down and I'll ask her, okay, I said, so what is true for you today? Is what your sister had to say true? And she says, no. I said, okay, so then what is true? Well, I'm an adult. I have a full-time job. I make decisions for myself. I said, pause. How does that feel? And
Yeah.
she's like, oh my gosh. So the oh my gosh, she literally shifted those neural pathways and created a new pattern for her nervous system. So after feeling it, processing it, metabolizing it, we changed the patterns. She's like, that feels incredible. And that's us finding our healthy adult.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my questions was, how can we be more loving towards the adolescent? And I think that was the answer. Just listening to it and showing it that that is not actually the case, that is not actually the reality. Because if we can look at many of our experiences in life, like even for the listeners out there who are listening to this, I bet you can look at quite a few experiences in your life that really felt bad in the moment, but now in the future, in the present, you've overcome it.
Absolutely. So here's a great example. Do the same patterns show up? The same bosses in your life, do they show up? Do the same relationships show up? The same types of jobs? Are you ready to change those patterns? So we'll go in there and we'll start asking, well, what's true and what's not true, right? And then that's how we can recognize and stay aware of, well, I don't like the way I get treated over here. I don't like the way that, and it happens all the time. That pattern will end up following you until you say, well, now wait a minute. That I don't like how that feels. So we know that there's a false belief or a limiting belief or a lie. So let's find out what's true for you today. Okay? And then we'll give him some tools. We can say, thank you for your opinion. That's not true for me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that we're touching on this, especially because we're so close to the holidays and everybody is going to be visiting either friends or family, right? And I feel like in my experience, not just with myself, but with other people, I've seen a lot of people get triggered by their family members, right? Because when they're in that environment, it's like they're that kid again. It's like they're that adolescent
Yep.
again.
Yep.
And so my immediate thought goes to like body positivity for me. Like for me personally, it took a lot of shifting how I felt about my body, especially from the adolescent age, especially when I was a teenager. I was a really insecure kid. And so going into these environments where, there are certain family members who weren't kind to me growing up when it came to my body. And it's just, and being around those types of family members again, it's like, oh, it can be difficult.
Yes.
And it can, and even then there's still triggers, even though I've worked on it, there are still triggers. And I find that there's layers to healing. What
Absolutely.
do you have it? Yeah. What are your 2 cents on like layers to healing and being able to deal with,
Yes.
triggers like that?
Yes, thank you. So we're like onions, right? We're human onions, and there's layer upon layer. If you don't mind me touching on your story with
Yeah.
the insecurities from childhood, insecurities is from our adolescent. So
Uh,
it literally is trying to keep those insecurities are trying to keep you safe, keep you away from the comments, keep you away from that crowd, and keep you introverted to stay away because it's not safe.
yeah.
Right? What the insecurities don't know, how old you are today, that you have your own podcast, that you are
Yeah.
influencing people's life. Look at the smile on your face.
Yeah.
How does that truth feel in your body?
It feels incredible. It feels like when I think of that kid inside of me, she would have never guessed where that would have led me. And that's the thing, when we can take these pains
Yes.
from our past and transmute them, right? I don't think those. First of all, it's very it's a very generational thing. It was kind of, unfortunately, in my case, it was on both sides, women commenting and passing it down to women and passing it down to women, and it's just it. What I love about this is that I'm going to be the person that will break that
Yes.
pattern.
Yes, 7 years before and 7 years after you. You are doing the work for these
Hmm.
generations. I'm proud of you. That's incredible.
Yeah.
With you touching on your childhood, you've done a lot of work around the insecurities already.
Right.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yes, let's get into it. Yeah.
Okay. What age comes up for you? Go with the first thought that comes to mind.
13.
Insecurities. What time or what age?
13.
13. Where is this
13.
13-year-old?
She's in, gosh, 13. What? I think it was junior high. I think I
Okay,
was in junior high.
perfect. Is the 13-year-old at home? Is she at school? Where's
Oh,
she
she's
at?
at school.
She's at school. Is
She's,
she in a
hmm
classroom? Is it lunchtime? What's the memory that comes up for you?
it's, oh my gosh, it's science class. It's after lunch science
After
class.
lunch, and she's sitting in science class?
Hmm.
Okay. Is anybody around her?
Yeah. Ooh, you're digging into me. Yeah, it's all of the people in that particular science class. They're all there.
Okay. Is there
Yeah.
something that's being said to little Priscilla that's making her
Yeah.
uncomfortable?
Yeah. It's there. So there was this one time where I had always put my hair up in a ponytail, and that was one of the things I was bullied for a lot was my hair. I didn't know how to manage it the way I did now. Like it was very frizzy. I didn't know what I was doing until later on in life, and I came into this class with my hair down for the first time ever. I never put my hair down,
Hmm.
and these girls like put a pen in my hair, and I didn't realize it. And then that was before class. And then class starts, and one of the guys next to me is a really nice guy, really good friend. He was trying to pull out the pen without me noticing. But when he pulled it out, it hurt a little bit. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? And when I figured out what happened, it was like a scene from like your worst nightmare. Like everybody, all of the students, except for him and my teenage crush. They were the only two that didn't laugh, but everyone else in the classroom laughed at me. And then the teacher came in and everybody quieted down, and I just remember sitting there for an hour with everybody staring at me. And gosh, and that's the thing. I've done so much healing work around this moment, but even now, it's just that's where she always is. She was insecure about everything. She was insecure about her hair, about her
Yeah.
body,
So
and
stay with
it's
me. Stay with me
hmm
in this memory because this is so powerful. I feel this
yeah.
right now as we're talking. How old are you today?
I am 30.
30. Okay. So what I want you to do is imagine 30-year-old Priscilla walking into that classroom.
Hmm.
And I want you to wave and say hello to little Priscilla. Does she
Okay.
recognize you?
Yeah, she recognizes me.
Yeah. Can you go over and kneel down by her desk and say, do you know who I am?
I do you know who I am. She says yes.
Yeah.
Mm,
Say, I'm here for you now. What would you like to share with me?
I'm here for you now. What would you like to share with me? And she just wanted to be herself.
Can you ask her this then? Or maybe what did you need to hear in that moment?
She needed to hear in that moment that she was enough, that
Mm-hmm.
her presence wasn't such a burden and so so different from others. She felt really different from others and she
Okay,
just
so
wanted
now
to be normal.
is she telling you this, or are you speaking for her?
No, no, she's telling me this.
So she's telling you, perfect. So this is
Hmm.
giving little 13-year-old Priscilla her voice. She needs to hear that she was enough. I want you to look at her in the eye and say, "Hey, you are enough."
Hey, you were enough.
Again, first person, what she said she needed to hear, go ahead and tell her.
You were enough. You are not a burden. You can be you. It
Mm,
is safe to be you.
let's also educate her on this, Priscilla. Let her know that there's unhealthy people around her and they didn't know, and it was not Priscilla's fault. It's not little Priscilla's fault. What
There was
happened?
unhealthy people around you. It wasn't your fault. None of that was your fault. What they did to you was how they felt about
Self.
themselves. Hmm.
Okay. Ask her, is there anything else that she wants to share with you?
Yeah. Yeah, she says that she's proud of me.
Okay, here's where it changes. We don't
Yeah.
want her proud of you.
Okay.
You're the adult. She's the child. So this is where it changes. You
Yeah.
show up for her. She gets to be a child now.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is where it changes. She gets to be 13 and you're here to protect her. Let her know this.
You get to be 13 and I get to be here for you.
Yes, I've got you.
I've got you. I feel safe now.
Yeah. Just say, I'm sorry I wasn't here for you in the past, but I'm here for you now.
I'm sorry I wasn't here for you in the past, but I'm here for you now.
And how you feel is important to me.
How you feel is important to me.
What can I do for you now?
What can I do for you now?
Let her speak.
You can accept me.
Ask her, how can I show you that I accept you? Let her speak.
How can I show you that I accept you? Allow me to be even more myself.
Mm, say, you got it.
You
I've got
got
you.
it. I've got you.
Yep. And to do that, we're going to do a fun activity together. Ask her, what is something fun that you would like me to do with you?
What is something fun that you would like me to do with you? She says read books and color.
Let's do it. Yep.
Let's do it.
Literally imagine yourself sitting down or laying down with her.
Okay.
As you're coloring, reading books together, you say, this is so great. I love your choice.
This is so great. I love your choice.
Mm. And just let her know that it's time for you to go. She can either come with you or she can stay. Let her choose.
Time for me to go. Would you like to come with me or stay? She says she wants to stay.
Yeah. Say, I'll be back tomorrow to check on you.
I'll be back tomorrow to check on you.
You can wave at her or blow her a kiss or Yeah. And then come on back. Take a deep breath and come on back.
Wow. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, I feel it's interesting because I'm the adult, but I'm also the 13-year-old, and it's just like more of me feels very seen.
Yes.
Um, so wow, that was
I
incredible.
love
Thank
this.
you.
You did so good. You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Shanna.
Through this work, we discover
Hmm.
our healthy adult. It's
Hmm.
not our child's responsibility to keep us safe, it's ours. As an adult from 25 and older, we are that healthy adult for our child.
Yeah.
We go back and we allow them to have what they never got, to hear what they needed to hear, to have that voice that they never had. She chose to color and read books. That was so great. And then you guys did it together. It'll be
Yeah.
really important for you to check on that 13-year-old tomorrow.
Yeah, I will. I will. Wow. That I'm just kind of blown away right now. So that is what we just did. That is a lot of the work that you do with your clients
It
with
is.
this work.
It is. Yep.
Wow.
Our whole goal is to get into that healthy adult, right? Someone that we relied so much on as a child to be there, and they were never there because they didn't know. They didn't know, but until now. So as we discover who our healthy adult is, and I'm so excited to talk about this next episode also of the
Yeah.
healthy adult, right? It's a place of grounded, centered compassion, love, understanding. When you're in the middle of a bully ring and there's bullying comments, you can
Hmm.
simply say, my heart goes out to you. That's not true for me. And you give
Yeah.
them that love back that they're searching for.
Right. Yeah.
So,
It's incredible. I so that's essentially how we talk to the adolescent and ultimately how we heal the adolescent, the fear based within us.
absolutely. When there's fear that comes up,
Hmm.
it's thank you, fear. Thank you. We approach with gratitude. Thank you, fear, for keeping me safe, protecting me, keeping me alive, accepted. Those three main parts, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping me alive, safe, and accepted. I've got this now.
I've got this now. Yeah. So when dealing with our fears, really it's about being grateful for those fears and then saying to that part of us that feels fear, I'm the adult and I got us, and we're gonna, even though it's uncomfortable, even though making my dreams happen is uncomfortable, we're going to do it anyway. And it's all going to be okay because I'm the adult now.
Yes, yes. And working with a coach as such as yourself, you
Yeah,
you are enrolling as that healthy adult for their fear, right? And you help
right.
guide them through what's true because you see what's on the other side of their fear,
Yeah,
and you give them that safety until they
yeah,
can get into it and just be that on their own.
yeah, yeah. And the beautiful thing about this is that when we're able to talk to our fear and calm it down, we can actually set the rules for our own life, for our own success, for how things work with us, work for us in our lives, right?
Yep.
Um, so I would love to hear, just kind of some 2 cents on, your personal life. What is the rule that you've set for yourself and for your life and how things run for you in your either personal or professional life that has been the most life-changing since you've been doing this work?
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Such a great question. Um, I was in such emotional pain and imposter syndrome and loss of self that I swore I would never do that again, but I didn't know how. So once I found this model and found who I was as a healthy adult, I was going to practice and apply what worked for me. And that simply is when a fear comes up or a limiting belief, slow down because it's going to try and speed you up to get through it. So it's actually the opposite action. So when a fear or a sense of fear or a limiting belief comes up, for me, it's I'm going to slow down and I'm going to state what's really true. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for me. So this is what's true today. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I have my own business. I help change people's lives. And then that energy starts to shift.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite tools that has really helped keep me in present moment and out of fear.
I love that. I love that because it's our it's about acknowledging the fear, but then also being like, but look at how much we've already accomplished.
Yes.
You know, when we're facing these triggers, it's really we are a lot more powerful than our triggers, and we can make the rules for our lives. We can change our lives for
Yep.
the better into something that's completely unrecognizable. We can do so much work in a year, and then in
Mm-hmm.
5 years, and in
Mm-hmm.
10 years.
Mm-hmm. Right? Those triggers. Thank you. Thank you. They're gifts. Like I receive. Thank you for the trigger. Thank you, trigger, for the information.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Shanna, thank you so much. Thank you for that. I feel like I've seen a new part of myself that I didn't even know was there. It's funny, when I was looking at the adolescent phase, like I said, I immediately in my head went to teenage and childhood and bullying. And so I think that part of me was kind of trying to come out. So it was just incredible to see or feel that recognition and kind of go through that process with you that you do with your clients. So thank you so much for that,
You're so welcome.
Shanna. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
Your vulnerability, Priscilla, is so beautiful and
Yeah.
empowering. It's very courageous. You give people permission to do that themselves. Like, what a great soul that you are.
Yeah.
So, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, we all suffer something in our lives and it's all different, all looks different, but in the end we all have triggers around something and it's important to recognize that within all of us because we all have a story and we're all going through something at one point or another. And so I find that when I'm more vulnerable like that, it it breeds compassion and
Absolutely.
it breeds more kindness.
Absolutely. I felt that on the other side of the lens. Yeah. That's so beautiful.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Shanna. I don't have any more questions for you. Um, so, in the next episode, we are going to cover the healthy adult. So, for the listeners out there, tune in to this next episode. So, this is a three-part series, and this is the second out of 3 episodes. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much, Shanna, for your time.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.